can't lose. No, we can't lose.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Gambling gods, fickle bunch.
Oh, yeah.
So easily
We
affected.
have a shooter and a good one coming out for a new point. Get your bets down, ladies and gentlemen. He's a rolling point is 9, place 9. 9 a winner. Got a hot hand. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen.
They bet on absolutely anything. Don't make them prove it.
You're basically betting against human achievement. Like something has to happen for you to lose an under.
You're tuned in to Gambling with Good JuJu.
Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good JuJu, the show with more juju than jujubes. Guys, remember those?
Nope.
Jujubes? Oh, come on, you remember jujubes. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, check out our merch shop, and spread the word if you don't mind. Seriously, it's holiday time. Check out our merch shop. You're hard to shop for. You know you are. You're a degenerate gambler. The only thing you want are parlay bangers and cash-in tickets. So make it easy on your loved ones. You go to goodjujubets.net.
Yeah, just buy yourself a gift.
Click on the merch shop, then share the link with your loved ones. We appreciate you all. You can also find us on the socials at goodjujubet, so hit us up there. Nothing we enjoy more than interacting with fans.
And speaking of the merch shop, we want to give a big shout out to our one Black Friday shopper, Karen in Minnesota. Thank you for stopping by our store on Black Friday. Happy holidays, Karen.
All right, jamblers. Kurt, that's our new word for the audience. Get used to it. We're calling them jamblers.
The Jamblers.
The Jamblers.
Yeah, with a J,
The
like
J
Juju. Yeah.
from Juju.
You guys are
Instead of
so
gamblers.
smart.
We're
Well,
sorcerers.
we're tired of calling them audience, so we're going to call them jamblers now.
Love it.
Lots to get to today. We're talking with Connor Allen of 4 for 4. Very excited to talk shop with him and chop it up over shared backgrounds.
Foreshadowing.
No. Additionally, we brought Jeff of the Degen Boosts account on to talk about whether it is smart to cash out a bet on the last possession of the game. Breezy's betting on college basketball coaches to win the NCAA tournament, and Juice might be shut down betting the local bookies parlay card. All that and more on this episode of Gambling with Good JuJu.
Dun 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 dun.
Before we get into the super nerdy stuff I put together and talk to people outside the three of us, Juice, did you break the local bookie already?
I'm working on it. So I don't think he's running to the hills yet. But
Quick background. Give it to him again, just in case.
all right. So, we have this show and 3 people listen to it and 2 of them hang out with us. And they go and play parlay cards as a part of their leisure activities on Friday. And so they shared that experience and invited me to participate as well through a proxy.
So you make how many picks?
So I've been making 3 picks on the parlay card. You can do whatever you want, but I'm keeping it simple. I'm doing 3 picks, pays 5 to 1. So the awesome part about parlay cards is they print them on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever they print them. And certainly the odds change in NFL and college games between then and Friday. So understanding this and recognizing this, I used my noodle a little bit and got a calculator out and figured out the most optimal way to play 3 plays on these cards. And with that, so far, I played 7 and I've won 3, which is pretty neat. So like I said, 5 to 1 payout. And assuming, I've done this a number of times now, it's pretty common to get a minus 145, a minus 135, and definitely as many minus 130s as you want. Put those into a parlay calculator and it comes about to like 4.2 to 1, right? So you're getting some pretty good value here.
You're destroying that value still.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying that your true odds, what you're playing at a max efficiency, you are getting value at 4.2 to 1 as opposed to 5 to 1.
Yeah.
But you are winning at a 40%.
Yeah, so like
clip.
double that, right? Yeah. Which is neat. And small sample size.
But it's even better because you're getting better lines too, right? At the minus 130 prices, right?
Right. So even like the fair odds, like you're getting a better price.
You're killing it.
Yeah. So I suppose I would encourage you all to go to your local tavern and ask if they have parlay cards. But kind of the most exciting part is since doing this, our friends Bill and Michelle, they were pretty negative about this. Like, oh, you're never going to win. We never win, blah, blah, blah. I won one once, right? In the last 4 weeks, they both won one. So that's kind of exciting, right?
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, we have this, we share all this information and somebody's actually listening, right?
Are they tailing you?
Well, I thought that would be the easy way to do it, right? But they're not doing that. So at first it was like, oh my God, you're picking college games. We never consider that. You're looking at totals like, this is crazy. We would never choose a total. We just pick the teams, right? So it's like, oh man, maybe they're like, picking up some tips here and like, all right, well, we do totals a little bit, but we don't do the college. It's like, okay, well, at least you're making progress. And Michelle hits one and she goes, well, I didn't have any time to make a pick, so I just used my birthday. Because each bet has a number on it, right? And like that kind of, is hilarious. And then Bill goes and he looks at his card and he goes, well, let me just see if my birthday would have won. Okay, thank goodness my birthday did not win. But of course, the next week, Bill plays his birthday and wins.
No! No!
So I'm over here like grinding it out, spending hours on my calculator, and there's just play your birthday.
I did not know Bill won playing his birthday. I do remember Michelle won playing her birthday.
The next week. So, gambling's fun.
Gambling is so fun. Wow, what a punchline.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations to you. Continue doing it. I really hope you get to add to your resume banned from gambling by the local bookie. Like, that's an awesome badge of honor, right?
Yeah. Well, it's just, yeah. Hey, Bill, make up a new fake name.
All right. Breezy did it.
Here
He
we go.
created a model. No, it isn't a model for every Big Ten team that can be used to bet on games throughout the season. Turns out, that's a lot of work. I abandoned that idea, but quickly realized the better place to start was to test out my idea of coaches who can't win it all model. So I did it. It factors in many of the traditional metrics, but also a few other criteria based around coaches' historical NCAA tournament performance. It works really well to eliminate teams from consideration, but finding those key teams we want to bet on today required a bit more digging. So first, let's take a quick look around the internet at some of the factors believed to contribute to teams that can win it all. Let's see if you guys agree with it.
And these are your factors, right?
No, I did research.
Oh, these are like tried and
things
true
that are put out there.
Understood.
And there are reasons behind it.
Okay.
One is conference affiliation.
All right.
If you're not in one of the Big Six conferences, you aren't winning at all. Hasn't happened. So,
Ever?
I mean, it depends. Like UConn was in the American when they won it all. But do you count UConn as a non-Big Six because they were Big Six, then not Big Six, then Big Six?
Right, okay.
So like it gets weird.
Spicy.
Like, right. But basically, if you aren't in the Big Six, you aren't winning at all. Conference tourney semifinalist. So if you're not in your conference tourney semifinal, you can't win at all.
Okay.
We can't control for that today. So just putting it out there.
All right.
That's a factor. Also, can be overcome. It's happened. Man, let me tell you, UConn broke a lot of trends. It's pretty impressive.
That was fun.
Yeah. So NCAA tournament seed. Here's a fun one. Last 16 national titles, 13 of them were a 1 or a 2 seed. All 3 of them that weren't were UConn. Tell me that's not crazy.
That is
All right,
crazy.
well, let's bet on UConn.
So you're either betting on a 1 or a 2 seed, or you're betting on UConn.
Oh, interesting.
I'm going to give you guys a hint here. No one's going to get mad at you for betting on UConn.
Okay.
Just ever.
Are they good?
Yeah.
They are.
Super good.
Okay.
Super good.
Are they
You
in the
should
Big
go bet on
Six?
UConn. We're going to get to teams you can bet on. Don't worry about it. Here's another crazy thing. UConn had 3 different coaches do that.
Wow.
They're the most marvelous statistical anomaly ever. I'm confident in that. Everything in my data I looked at makes sense if you ignore UConn. All right. The other factor that you want to consider teams to win it all are key stats. So that's one thing that we know we can factor in, right? Primarily around offensive and defensive efficiency. We know you have to be at least somewhat good on the defensive end, and you darn well better be good on the offensive end. That's one thing that has proven extremely true. Offense, more important than defense.
Hashtag Houston. Right?
I'm about to talk about Houston. Houston has a problem. I'm mad we bet on Houston.
Houston, we have a problem.
Let's look at some of the first-time winners. Jay Wright, Tony Bennett, 2 of the first-time winners that have occurred in the last decade. Both of them made dramatic changes to their offensive scheme the year before they won it all. Both of them went from deficient in offense to one of the best of the country. So I looked at a chart offered up on Bart Torvik. It looked at offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency crossed with each other, and it lays out for you basically in quadrants how good were you on offense, how good were you on defense. If you're not at the top in terms of offense, you aren't moving on. And if you're not at least average in defense, you're not moving on. So I use that chart when looking at a lot of the historical coaches. I went and looked at all the coaches who have won over the last 20 years. And then I also looked at all the contending teams coaches right now to kind of see their history in terms of their offensive efficiency and defensive efficiency to see who lives up in that area where we're looking for, right? So for coaches such as Jay Wright and Tony Bennett, they used to always struggle in the NCAA tournament. They made big changes to their schemes. There were articles about it. I went and looked it up. Changed their offensive scheme. Boom. They qualify for winning. So these metrics are real in terms of the importance of offensive efficiency. So you better be good at O. You don't win at all if you don't. And you better be at least average at D. Now, here's another statistic. It's called PAIC. It's available via Bart Torvik. This is how well did you perform in the tournament relative to their model's expectations. Did you overperform or underperform? Anyone who's won a national title has a positive PAIC. Now, granted, the year you win your national title, you get a lot of points. So that's going to send you positive. But you can start to look at some of the coaches who've been doing this for 10 plus years and sort of see what's their performance like over the course of the tournament. And then I look at some of the historical numbers around coaches who have won it all and where were their numbers in that regard as well. And you better at least be decent in terms of the tournament. It gets harder for coaches depending on like what conference they're in and stuff, but you better at least be decent. Of the last 6 coaches who won for the first time in the national tournament, 3 of them had a positive number. 1 of them was super close, and the other 2 were Tony Bennett and Jay Wright, who I just mentioned changed their philosophy. So you better be at least decent in that. So that brings us to this year, and for the part you guys are ready to want to pay attention to.
Here, let me get out my pencil, geez.
I know. That was a long setup. I'm sorry. He looks bored to tears. Now, based on this, I took all these numbers. I took a look at their offensive efficiencies, their defensive efficiencies for this year. I took a look at their numbers in terms of historical success. I compared it to like some of those benchmarks I talked about with previous coaches. And I've compiled 4 lists of different categories of the top 22 teams on the NCAA odds board. So here we go. They fall into these categories. 1, not ready for prime time. There has only been 1 coach in the last 23 years who has won a title in less than 4 tries in the NCAA tournament. That is Kevin Ollie.
UConn?
Of UConn.
That's awesome.
So we have 6 coaches in the top 22 teams. John Shire, Tommy Lloyd, Hubert Davis, Dusty May, Rodney Terry, and Kyle Neptune. We can eliminate Duke, Arizona, North Carolina, Florida Atlantic, Texas, and Villanova.
Oh, nice work.
You got to play in the tourney at least 4 to 5 times before you can win it all. At least if I'm going to bet on it. So they're gone. Out the door. So then we have the coaches who have made the tournament double-digit times and consistently underperform. You're probably going to hear these names and go, yeah, you shouldn't bet on that. It's either because they don't run an efficient offense or because they just aren't clutch. We're going to start at the top of the list here because we recommended this bet on a previous show, and it turns out Kelvin Sampson cannot win a national title. Let me tell you something. He's had 5 teams that qualify in that upper quadrant, that upper right quadrant, consistently underperformed. He's one of the historical worst coaches ranked on PAIC.
Wow.
Well, didn't we bet Houston last year, and they had an awesome defense, which they have this year, but remember last year they couldn't score in the tournament, right?
Maybe they just don't have a leader
That's
who
another
can
good
guide
point,
them
too.
through
Yeah.
6 games because he's never been able to do it. Person number 2, Matt Painter. He's been in that range at least 3 times. He's also had some pretty disgusting teams in terms of either being very defensive oriented or very offensive oriented. I'm hesitating to completely write off Purdue just because he's never had a team truly up in that corner, that upper corner of offensive and defensive efficiency. Calvin Sampson, you've had a bunch. You're gone. Painter hasn't had one truly in that. He's hung around the edges of that.
You think he'll be up there this year with his team this year?
His team is top 5, I think, in both right now.
Okay.
So Purdue's leading in everything. They've got a player that's hard to stop.
Yeah, they do.
Like, they've got a lot going for him. But no, he's been in the tournament like 18 times.
That's unbelievable.
Painter is not going to win it all. Sorry. Shaka Smart. He doesn't ever generally have a very good offensive team. 8 straight tournaments he's underperformed in terms of pay. 8 straight tournaments he's underperformed relative to what he should do. How are you going to bet on someone who's underperformed 8 straight times?
Can't do it.
Rick Barnes, he's underperformed 6 straight times for Tennessee. I mean, these names all reek of chokers. Smart overperformed those first 2 years at VCU and has never done anything since. Greg McDermott, he's battled. I'll give him some of that. He doesn't have ever offensive efficiency numbers that really hold up. He's got good numbers right now, but we're betting on where it's going to be at the end of the year. And so far, his numbers haven't shown year to year to do that. Here's an interesting one. Mick Cronin stunk outside the Power 6 in the tournament, but now he's in the Power 6. And in the Power 6, he's had a positive number. So I'm not going to write him off, not betting him yet, but that's UCLA. They all have been in double-digit tournaments, all these coaches. None of them have sniffed a title so far.
Rick Barnes is Tennessee?
Yeah, he used to be Texas. Now he's Tennessee. Yeah. They just choke all the time. Shaka Smart was Texas before Marquette. They choked all the time. Painter, Purdue keeps losing double-digit seeds 3 times in a row. You're going to bet on him at plus 1,200? You don't have to know how good the team is. You just have to question whether or not Painter can lead a team through 6 straight games. It's a mental challenge. Now we have a few coaches who I think could win it all, even though they've already crossed that threshold of double-digit years. Maybe should have, but haven't. Mark Few, Gonzaga, still could. Even though not a Power 5 team, we're going to count Gonzaga. They live like a Power 5 team. Bruce Pearl, Auburn. Jim Larinaga, the old guy down at Miami. He's good in the tourney.
He is a good
He's good in the tourney. He runs an offensive-minded team, too. So there you go. Now we've got, so that's 3 coaches who are like old established that you could consider. We've got 3 coaches who are now entering their prime with their programs. We've got Nate Oates at Alabama, Andy Enfield at USC, and Eric Musselman at Arkansas. And then finally, so those guys are in like that year 5 to 7 that I was talking about. Dan Hurley, who won for UConn last year, 5th go.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. Okay. And then we've got coaches that have already done it. Hurley, Self, Calipari, Drew, and Izzo. In the last 16 tournaments, half of them have been won by coaches who had already won a tournament. The 2 coaches I don't mention, Pitino and Tony Bennett of Virginia, they don't have it. They don't have teams, so they can't compete. So if you do the math there, I just eliminated half the coaches. We've got 11 coaches left. So let's take a look at the teams. Miami and Arkansas, not very close right now. Neither metric, offensive or defense, that good. We cannot bet on them right now. Baylor's D is terrible. Kentucky's soft on D as well. Throw them out. Auburn is close, but their offense is soft, which is more important, but it's close. Same for Michigan State. Offense is soft, but we're not going to bet them right now because it's so important. So now we're down to 5 teams. Kansas, plus 1,200 is the best for us. Connecticut, plus 2,200 is the best for us. Gonzaga, plus 4,000. Alabama, plus 5,000. USC, plus 6,000. One of those teams, I believe, can win the NCAA tournament. I bet on USC. I'm betting UConn. I'm debating Kansas, Gonzaga, and Alabama. What do you fellas think?
You're not even firing on these yet.
I'm firing on Connecticut right now. I need to fire on it right now. I meant to do it before we recorded.
I got you.
Didn't you send us in the thread USC plus 6,000?
I played that a week ago.
Yeah, I got that.
I think I'm in on that in Alabama.
I haven't played Alabama, Gonzaga.
Or maybe that's football.
Or Kansas. Yeah, we got Alabama in football.
All right, well, I'm in.
I'm going to keep my eye on some of these other teams, though. You know, Miami or Arkansas or Kentucky, Auburn, Michigan State, those are programs that aren't in those 5 that they're still in there. I think the most important part is eliminating teams. And I just don't understand betting Houston, Purdue, Marquette, Tennessee, Creighton, or any of the young coaches. I'm not going to run.
So UNC is a no-go, right?
You can eliminate a lot of the board this way.
Do we know UNC? How many times has Herbie been in the tournament? Do you know?
He has been in the tournament once.
No, hasn't he been there he's only been there 2 years?
He's been there 2 years. In this second, he was the team that went to the NCAA championship game, and then in his second year, they missed the tournament.
I thought he'd been there longer than that.
So, I mean, him and Dusty May are fascinating. You might want to bet Dusty May. You want to know why?
Who's Dusty May?
Do
Who's
tell.
he coach?
Head coach of Florida Atlantic.
Yeah. Oh, he brought them up. The old Owls, right?
Dusty May, born in Peoria, Illinois.
Oh, yeah. Head checks.
How about it? We might.
Good little Italian sandwich.
He took them to the Final Four last year.
Yeah.
So Dusty May is another one, but
Did they bring most of that team back?
I don't know.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm not
Florida
going to
Atlantic.
bet on Florida Atlantic to win it all. They don't meet a lot of these criteria I just went
Right.
through.
Just wait till they make the Elite Eight and you got these other 6 teams.
Just wait till he gets hired by a real program
Yeah, there you
and
go.
has been to the tournament a few more times.
Okay.
Hubert Davis, I'm if you don't believe in the coaches can't win it all that early in their career, Hubert Davis is one to look at. But it's only happened once since 2000. Most of the time, guys who've been around a long time win national titles.
That checks out, yeah.
I mean, the majority of the titles since the year 2000, here are the people who have won multiple titles. It's Coach K, Jim Calhoun, Roy Williams, Bill Self, Billy Donovan, Jay Wright, and I'm probably forgetting someone. But between them, that's eaten up a lot of the titles.
Well, fascinating research project. Nice work. Have
I talked you into betting any of it?
I'm going to bet on all of them.
You're betting all 5 of them?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
You know I'm in. It's a futures bet.
Okay. There you go. There's your 5.
I'm glad you remembered to dig this up and do it now.
Well, I did make a promise on air that I was going to come up with a model. And if I didn't do it, I was going to be in trouble. Which, thank you to Corby. I wouldn't have been able to do this without a lot of the information. I used Bart Torvik for all of it.
Yeah.
I was scraping data into Excel. I definitely was looking into the research behind offensive and defensive efficiency and looking for metrics that can differentiate and stuff like that.
More than that, I was just talking about when we were talking about this last March. And you were like,
Oh, yeah.
I think we should just bet on the coaches. What a great idea.
This did get born out of our conversation standing around during the tournament. We're just watching all the coaches like that I just mentioned that I'm like, yeah, these coaches always stink. Why would anyone bet on them?
I'm pretty sure it was highlighted by Barnes in Tennessee.
Yes.
I remember watching that game with you, and we're like, what is going on? Because, like, didn't they make a bunch of turnovers? They did. They blew
remember
something.
telling you throughout that game, I was like, he's a terrible coach.
Yeah.
You shouldn't bet on him.
Yeah.
Don't bet on Barnes in the tournament.
Yep.
And
you
that's
did.
what got me on that roll. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, that guy's not going to win. And then he didn't. And I was like, that guy's not going to win. I think Purdue was still in it. And I was like, Purdue's not going to win.
Yeah. All right. So are we going to get updates if new information comes out and you're like, hey, I think we got some guys to add to this list?
Yeah, Michigan State, if they bop up there or something. I mean,
Yeah.
these offensive ratings can change, right?
Yeah.
So I won't look at this again before the holidays. There's a lot of wonky stuff that's going to happen now. You're going to see a lot of mismatch games. and
But once
stuff
we
like
get
that.
conference play going, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So once we hit January, I'll take a look at the numbers again. And then before the tournament, we'll look at them a third time.
Neat.
Okay.
So sound good?
Yeah, do a little
For sure.
CLV checkup on you.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, everyone enjoy. We've got a couple conversations coming up. We're going to be talking with Jeff of the Degen Boosts, followed by Connor Allen of 4 for 4. Stick around for that. Thanks again to everyone, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Jesse? Violet? Where are you?
What is that?
It's your Aunt Jane.
Who the hell's Aunt Jane?
Oh, I live on the rancho in Colorado.
My Lord.
Oh, I'm a nasty old goop, but I am turning around because of Jesse and Violet. I haven't eaten a meal in 2 years till you showed up.
Kurt, you don't get it? Every dorm room had a pizzazz in 2004. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about, Pete?
I get you not getting this one.
Jeff, when I woke up Monday morning, and the reason why I brought this topic up to you is I woke up Monday morning and I'm in another fantasy football league group text thread, and everybody's really bad gamblers in this thread. And
Same with mine.
I woke up to the screenshot that I sent you of what happened in the Auburn Alabama game, and it was nothing but a flurry of messages of how smart this guy is, how awesome it is to cash out. And when I tried to make my peace with these guys, they turned on me, basically calling me an idiot and who has the money and who doesn't have the money, and look how smart he was. He's laughing last. He's got the cash. So I immediately reached out to you and was just like, we've got to get the message out of how bad of a play this cash out is. So for those not listening at home, the situation, Alabama and Auburn, it's the fourth quarter. Auburn's up 24-20 with just over 30 seconds left. There's fourth down. They're on the 31-yard line. It's 4th and goal. And
wait, pause for a second. Laugh. It's 4th and 31, and it's 4th and goal.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
What?
No, we're just setting the
How are
stage.
you missing that joke? It's 4th and 31. That's funny.
Yeah.
They obviously have no prayer. Go on.
Right.
I mean, apparently somebody thinks they have a prayer because they cashed out.
Okay.
Go on.
So this bettor has $10,000 on the Auburn money line for plus 650.
Mm-hmm.
And it pays out $65,000 if Alabama doesn't score. So $0 if Alabama does come back and win.
This is where I screwed up. It pays out $75,000.
It pays out 75. Okay.
And he cashed it out for 61.
Yeah.
4.
Okay.
Okay.
So it would have paid 75.
61,606.
Yeah.
61,606. Okay.
I don't know if that's right, but that's what you told me originally, I think.
So the question is, do you cash that bet out?
No. No, that was one of the worst cash outs I've ever seen. And I fully recognize that some people will just never be convinced because it's just a short-term results-oriented mindset of, hey, if the play won, then it was a good play. And if the play didn't win, then it wasn't a good play. But if you want to have any prayer whatsoever at being a winning gambler, you need to understand that really good plays can lose and really bad plays can win. And I think until you kind of adopt that mindset, like you're always just going to get gutted. And by the way, like I realize that it's an NCAA main line, so you can probably get a decent sized bet on that. But if you're getting $10,000 on a plus 650 on DraftKings, you're almost definitely a losing gambler. Almost definitely. Maybe a brand new account can. I'm actually not sure what their brand new limits are, but that should tell you really all you need to know, like if the guy's getting that. And also some sports books ban you from cash outs. Like on FanDuel, I just can't cash out. If they identify you as somewhat sharp, you might just get banned of cashing out at all, which is weird because cash outs are normally good for the sports book, but
Right.
Occasionally there are some opportunities where they can be good for the bettor. I would say 99% of the time, cash outs are bad. There's a reason the sports books offer them. But as far as this specific scenario goes, if Auburn actually had a 99.9% chance to win, which is the figure that I've seen, then this was like a historically bad cash out where over the long term, if you were in this scenario over and over again, you'd cost yourself about $13,000 by taking that cash out. Because if their win percentage was 99.9% and his odds were 650, so if he lets it ride, he's going to win $65,000, or the total payout will be $75,000. Well, really, to calculate the value of the cash out, all you need to do is the EV of the bet and then add that to your initial wager. And if the cash out is higher than that, then it's a good cash out. In this circumstance, the EV of the bet would have been $74,925, as in only $75 short of the total payout. And so all you need to do is take that $74,925 and subtract it by the cash out that he got, which is $61,606, which is negative $13,319. And I get it. Some people will just be like, hey, the cash out worked, so it was good.
Yeah.
But long term, if you do this, you're going to get killed. So I just want people to know that.
Were you able to calculate in that, like, what are the implied odds of hitting that bet according to the cash out? Like, what's the cash out saying the cash out's worth?
Basically, that Auburn would have a little bit better than an 80% chance to win at the time, which is crazy. When they're up on a 4th and 34, if they stop them, they win the game.
Right.
I don't know what the exact conversion rate on 4th and 34 is, but I guarantee it's a lot lower than 20%.
Right.
Which is essentially what that would be implying, right? I mean, it's probably like 97% just to convert on that. I actually don't know, but 4th and 34, anyone who watches football knows that that's pretty insane to convert on.
Yeah.
So we're on agreement that the books are probably never going to offer you a fair value on your cash out, right? Safe to assume.
There's a few scenarios where they could. It's a mistake by them. They don't intentionally do it, but I did, in case people do want to know, like when there is a few times to take a cash out, like there could be a few times. And normally it's when a book is slow to respond to like an injury or something. Let's say like a Bengals Ravens game the other night, where let's say you bet the Bengals and you see Joe Burrow gets hurt, you see him throw that pass on the sideline and grimace, and you're like, oh, Burrow is out for the game. Sometimes the books can be slightly slow to respond. And so their algorithms in like the live betting algorithm will show the Bengals up by 3. If they don't immediately adjust that Burrow is out for the game and you see that he's out for the game, it's possible that the EV on the cash out is good, because if you know, okay, now the Bengals only have a 20% chance to win this game, and I'm getting a cash out like they have a 55% chance to win this game, that's when it could be good. Similarly, if there's like a futures bet that you placed, we could use the same example. At that time, of course, we didn't know that Burrow was out for the season, but let's say you were holding on to like a Bengals Super Bowl bet, whatever it was, plus 3,000 odds. And of course, once it was public knowledge that Burrow was hurt, now the Bengals are probably plus 50,000. They have no chance of winning the Super Bowl. If you had quickly gone to your computer when you saw that underdog alert, or however you found out that Burrow was out for the season, it's possible on some of these slower moving books that you could get a cash out that's worth it. It's a really specific scenario, but those are the times when it could actually be good. And of course, you need to make sure that, hey, you're not just taking the cash out because he's hurt, you're taking the cash out because he's hurt and they haven't calculated yet that he's hurt or something like that. But in general, it's terrible for you to take the cash out. So
I have one more quick thing to go over real quick, because not only are these guys all about the cash out, they're all about hedging. They hedge like no other. When is it a good time to hedge? My advice to them was, if you have a big parlay with it that's got one leg left, somehow you put together some miracle and it pays a lot more and you want to hedge the other side to get some money back.
Well,
but these guys are hedging money line bets though. Like if they bet the Lakers money line and you know the Lakers they're down, they're gonna hedge the other. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's definitely not a good tactic. I will say your first scenario where you'd say you have a crazy parlay and you decide to hedge it, generally a bad play, generally a negative EV play, but it's probably better than the cash out, because the cash out offer that they give you is so bad. You could put that into a hedge calculator. So maybe you have a plus 1,500 parlay and you hit all 5 of your legs, you have one leg left. And if that's like huge money to you and you want to hedge it, it is better to hedge it almost always than to take the cash out.
Yeah.
Because that cash out is so bad. So that makes sense. But I will say, if you're finding yourself in scenarios like that where you're worried about hedging and it's like big money, you're probably either betting too much or betting too long of odds. Because even if you had it, and I'm assuming these guys aren't betting, sharp plus EV bets, but even if you had always planned on hedging, which is going to be an overall negative play because you're just betting the other side of it, not necessarily getting fair price, then you're just screwing yourself on both scenarios where you're guaranteeing that you're taking a negative EV bet every time. And so that hedge is almost always a mistake. When hedging could be good is a few specific scenarios, like an arbitrage bet where you had always planned on hedging it, as in you're placing this bet, and the plan was always to hedge, and you're just taking a risk-free profit guaranteed. Or maybe you're doing free bet conversion where you're betting a free bet to get 70% of the value of it or something like that, guaranteeing yourself a profit every time. Technically, even that is costing you a little bit of money, probably, because you're still placing that negative EV bet. So maybe your free bet would have been long-term worth like a 75% conversion, but by that hedge, you're only getting 70%. I realize that's kind of confusing and not super straightforward, but basically hedging is normally bad. Cash outs are normally bad. If you are going to take a cash out and you have an option to hedge, like it's a money line bet in over-under where you can easily just hedge one thing and it's not some future where you need to bet 4 or 5 teams, the cash out is normally worse than the hedge.
Yeah, gotcha.
I think that's a fantastic explanation.
Yeah, appreciate the advice.
I think really what you should do here, Kurt, is go to your friends and say every single time there's one play to go on 4th and 31, give them 1 and 5.
Yeah, give me a ring.
Yeah. Say, I'll put up 1,000, you put up 200.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's
every
go.
time.
I love it.
I don't know how many more 4th and goals from the 31 there will be, but we'll check it out.
Yeah, to end the game.
Yeah.
Real quick, I wanted to, do you mind if I talk about arbitrage real quick?
Yeah, cool.
'Cause
Let's
I
do
think
it.
a lot of people get confused on that. So most people are at least familiar with arbitrage betting, where you bet both sides of a bet and can't lose. It's when the odds are out of whack on either both sports books or one sports book. So let's say you have a plus 105 bet on one sports book, Steelers money line plus 105, and then you can bet the Bears on another sports book. Let's say they're playing each other for plus 100. You put that into an arbitrage calculator and never lose, which is great. The scenarios don't happen that often. Generally, one of those sides is the plus EV side. One of them is very mispriced. Long term, it is usually better to just bet the one side. However, because you can never lose within an arbitrage bet, you can bet way more. And so maybe the arbitrage bet is only plus 2% of your total wager that you're getting back, rather than plus 7% EV on if you had just bet the Steelers. But because you can bet way more, your dollar amount might be way more. So let's say you place a $100 bet on the Steelers and it's plus 7% expected value. Over the long term, you're getting net $7 from that bet. But if you were able to place you're able to place $1,000 on the arbitrage on the plus 105, plus 100, then you're going to net like $24. So the dollar amount is higher, even though the percentage amount is lower.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense, because of course you can bet way more if you know you can never lose.
Right.
But you have to bet within your bankroll if you're betting an unedged bet.
Right. You could empty the bankroll in that scenario.
Theoretically, as long you gotta pay
guaranteed.
attention to limits, but yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You gotta be careful though, because if you empty the bankroll on one account, like if you empty it on one account, assuming you can hedge this other, and then you run into some sort of limit on that other account, that's when you could get in trouble.
Whoops. I might have done that a couple of times.
Happened to me as well.
Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. You can find Jeff on Twitter at the Degen Boosts, friend of the show, producer of the Mega Thread. Jeff, thanks again for joining us. We really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate
Check
it.
out later.
Later, guys.
We welcome to the show Connor Allen, sports betting manager at 4for4 Football and BetSpurt Media Group. Connor, thanks for taking the time to chat with us.
Yeah, guys, appreciate you having me on. You originally reached out about wanting to talk about props, and I love talking about props. There's like nothing more that I enjoy. So, any opportunity I can get to talk football and props I will definitely gladly take.
Awesome. So let's get to the important stuff. As we just mentioned, you may or may not have been aware, but we have some shared experiences in life. This show airs out of Peoria, Illinois. You spent a few years in our sister town, Blono. So I'm pretty sure the entire audience is going to want to know, Avani's Gondolas, yay or nay?
Oh, yay. And then I get a side of ranch, and I dip the bread in the ranch.
Okay.
If that isn't the most Midwest thing you've ever heard.
If I didn't tell you we had shared experiences before, you believe me now. So let's get into this.
100%.
All right. So you landed in this career that I just mentioned as opposed to some generic office job in the world of business. How did you end up here instead of there?
Yeah, so it's kind of a winding road, but basically when I was in college, I wrote a guest column for Warren Sharp's book, and I applied for like his guest contest, and I won, and so I got published, and that was pretty cool. From there, I basically DM'd Evan Silva, just took my shot. I knew that they were friends. I was like, hey, can I write for free for NBC? He was at Roto-World at the time. And so, he let me do that. And that wasn't really a full-time job though. I was just working for free or part-time for a while. And at the same time I was working, I started my own food business and was doing that for a while. So I basically started my own catering company for like 5-6 years, and then was grinding this part-time for a while, bounced around for a couple different companies, and then was able to launch the betting vertical at 4for4. And that started taking off a little bit more, and I was able to go full-time once BetSpurts acquired 4for4 and a couple other companies. So it's been great, and now I get to work on the business side and behind the scenes a bunch, as well as doing front-facing content and everything. So it's been honestly a lot of luck, and then hard work and networking is what I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, so we all know you from 4for4, the prop show that you guys do. Are NFL props your favorite market?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do some college basketball stuff in March, and those are always fun. But I generally think the NFL props are just like the best because they're a big enough market that there's enough like liquidity. Like,
Yeah.
I can't really bet very much on college basketball props because they're not widely available. Whereas NFL props, you can usually get down a good amount of money if you want to on something. So yeah, I would say NFL props are definitely my favorite.
I'm just kind of dabbling in the college basketball props for the first time in my life. It is a lot different of a beast.
Yeah, and if you have good projections or know like some of my friends are just absolute sickos, like Steve Boyden and Matt Kajeski. They work for like other companies like Awesemo, I think, and Run Pure and stuff like that. If you don't follow them, I mean, they do amazing work. Like they know every player on every team and rotations and everything. That's
Wow.
like, and they just print money. I mean, like doing this as much as they can get done, they're just betting. So I follow them and then try and do my own research after as well.
Yeah, gotcha. So you are betting like 365 or not 365, but year round in different markets.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, basically, NFL season rolls into March Madness, and then that rolls into the NFL draft. And then from there, it's usually just like NFL futures. I dabbled in some like pitcher props before and some baseball. That's really hard too. I've talked to tried to learn from some smarter people, and their models and algorithms for baseball are just so far advanced compared to what I can comprehend that I kind of just try and learn from them, and I'm getting better at that. So that's still a work in progress. Maybe we'll see it more this summer, but yeah, I would say almost 365 with the exception of maybe the off season for football. Even then, it's just like futures. I'm still grinding pretty hard.
Yeah, gotcha.
So, Connor, I watch your show every week. Big fan. Every show. You get a lot of slack for being an unders better on that show.
I do.
Right?
Yeah,
I hear
yeah.
it every week. And I used to be strictly an overs better myself. But now that I've progressed through I guess the experience of being, I guess you could say I wouldn't say a huge
higher
prop
value
better, higher value better. I'm finding that I'm betting 90% of my wagers now are unders. Could you explain just the value in betting unders in general?
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a pretty natural progression, except for everyone except for Slop, who doesn't like betting unders. But yeah, like I would say it's a pretty natural progression because they're just easier to win. Because if you think about it, you're basically betting against human achievement. Like something has to happen for you to lose an under, just like at its core. And then from there, there's usually a lot of different outs for an under to happen. So if you bet on a player to go over his rushing yards and they fall behind, like they're probably just not going to run the ball anymore. Or the matchup becomes difficult, and he's not able to get any running room, then maybe they don't stick with the run. Like there's a lot of different ways that something can go wrong. Whereas if you bet an over, like he has to get a lot of volume or he has to have a good matchup. And maybe he breaks a long one here and there. I've gotten burned the last week or so on a couple of those random runs here and there. But I think that's mostly just variance. And I'm not saying like to only bet unders, but the majority of my volume is there. And I think that's generally, especially in NBA too, or some other markets, I think betting unders is really sharp.
Yeah, I found I told a story earlier where I bet an over a couple of 6-7 days ago, and I triple checked that I actually bet the over. So that's how little I'm betting overs now, especially in basketball for sure. All right, you mentioned Slop. What's it like working with that guy?
Oh, it's awesome. He's hilarious, and it's like his persona is like on the show. I think it's pretty authentic, like to who he is, because we'll talk like after the show, before the show. And I met him through like this group message basically that we have on Twitter that I don't know if you know, this guy named Vegas Refund on Twitter organized like this like group message basically with a couple of other like gambling personalities, and we like chat on the side about things. And so we met there, and I just thought his like whole shtick was hilarious, and his tweets are so funny. But he is legit, just like a genuine normal guy. Super, super funny. But his videos are obviously like part of his shtick. Like he's like solo videos he does on Slop Slocks are like, this bet has no chance of losing. Like it's all just like, that's all just like a goof. But like, I think on the show, like the prop shows was great. It kind of like peels back a little bit his character, I think. And he's kind of just like very authentic,
Well, tell him we said hello.
Will do.
And we'll take the rain check on that interview whenever he's ready.
Absolutely. I got to get him in the streets.
I think Slop was actually like the first person I ever really noticed on like gambling Twitter when I first started like trying to figure out how to bet on sports. And I was just like, wait a minute, this guy is over the top, I think. I don't think everyone's going to be like this. But it is really an interesting, like this is persona and his brand is awesome. It's fun.
Give us a high level life in the week for you right now during NFL season.
The heat of NFL.
What's it like for you right now?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. I'm tired at this point. Like in the season, like it's pretty exhausting. I mean, I don't want to complain too much because I get to work in an awesome job in the NFL and I get to talk about football for a living. But basically, Mondays I'll usually my time is spent like 50-50 on like business, social, behind the scenes, and then like grinding props and like I guess like researching. So like the majority of my research happens on Tuesdays, and then Wednesdays, I'll kind of like clean anything up here that I need to. And then usually by then I have a list of every single game broken down by props that I'm waiting for and why. And then separately, I'll go through all the markets, individually and like look at every single player because can't predict what every line's going to come out at, but I can predict like at what I think it's going to be at. I think it's going to be a good over, a good under for, X, Y, Z. And so usually I'll take care of that. As they are released. But I'm sure as you guys have heard me talk about, like I don't play props as soon as they come out just because we run a service that we want everyone to, be able to bet on. And so we used to in previous years, just like as soon as DraftKings or FanDuel release props, which is like nowadays Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays, like we would just bet them and release them. And we found that just like BetMGM, like lets you get down a couple bucks after you're limited. DraftKings has done a pretty good job this year. It's like $100. And Caesars just moves the line so fast. It's like 2-3 people bet it, and it's like minus 145. Like people don't really want to bet that, So
Right.
And so like we've started waiting. So I've been trying to wait a lot until there's at least those three plus like FanDuel or something else that way people can get down more action if they want to. Now, I think the majority of bettors are not betting a ton of money, but I think it's good for, our brand to kind of balance that both out there. So the week is basically just like grind early in the week, trying to get all my research done so that when things are widely released, I'm ready to go. So like I already have like 7 or 8 plays ready to go for Friday for this week that I've seen like are open to DraftKings, but I'm not releasing them until they're like widely available. But I know that they're going to be good still. By the time they release. So that's kind of like the prop side of everything from a week standpoint.
Yeah, that's interesting to like understand. It's obviously you guys have a great service, and like the Discord community is cool, and the product's great on the YouTube. It's cool that you take so much consideration into like your clients, if you will, right? Because like so much in like the space is not really client focused. It's just like results focused, right? So it's really unique for you guys.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Like when we entered the space a couple of years ago, we like just thought that there was a really big void of people just saying, "Oh, I like this pick," and they'd give just horrible reasoning after. I'm like, "Well, that's dumb. Like, why? I don't want to tail that, Or they give no reasoning, In which case, I'm like, "Well, why do I trust you?" And maybe that's just me being curious, But I always just thought that was such a big void. So we started including like write-ups with every pick and like explaining why, beyond just that we're betting it ourselves. So I think that's kind of important in one of the cores there because like there's a lot of other high profile Discords where 1, the community's super toxic and people are just getting pissed all the time. 2, they're talking like politics and stuff. Like we just don't need any of that. Like we're just here to hang out, talk about sports, like that's like we've tried to limit it very much to that and, explain our reasoning for every pick. And so I think it's gone well so far and, appreciate, people like you guys and the support we've gotten. So
yeah, very cool.
All right, Connor. You're a Bears fan, correct?
Yeah. At heart, yeah.
I'm a Bears fan.
Yep.
Juice here's a Bears fan.
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised in Peoria. For some reason, he's a 49ers fan and a Magic
He's
fan
smarter
and a
than us.
Giants fan.
Yeah.
And no one knows why he's any of those things.
Am I going to get roasted for my Justin Fields takes right now or no?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know these, but I have a question for you. Okay. Bears' career record for receiving yards is held by Johnny Morris, who retired in 1967. The receptions record belongs to running back Walter Payton, the franchise icon who retired in 1987. Ken Kavanaugh, who hung up his cleats in 1950, has the franchise's touchdown reception record with 50, which is 10 more than Harlan Hill, who finished playing in 1961. Should we seriously consider Harrison over a QB in the draft?
I mean, I think so, but I think it depends. So I think that there's a lot of different situations here for the Bears, right, to go with. And like, there's almost all of them are good situations. Like if you pick Marvin Harrison Jr., I don't think anyone's gonna be mad at that.
Right.
If you pick Caleb Williams, I don't think anyone should be mad at that either. I mean, like, is he like as good of a prospect as we thought a year ago? Probably not. But like, I think he's still a fantastic prospect. And most importantly, he resets the clock for payment. And that's what is key here because Justin Fields, I don't think like I rag on him a lot on our shows. I say he sucks. And I think he's good. He's one of the best athletes I think in his position maybe ever, but he doesn't really fit within a system well, and they haven't given him enough help with offensive line. So like, I'm not saying that he can't be awesome, but I just don't think that he's there yet. And I just don't think they have enough time to do that, because if he is the answer, or if maybe you're not sure still again next year, you have the choice. Then you have to pay him, or you have no quarterback, and then you're just pushing your decision further down the road. And you might not have 2 top 5, 2 top 6 picks next year, which I mean, I would hope they don't. So it's a really interesting dilemma. And I think that there's a lot of different ways that it can be great. I would say the only way that it can be bad in my mind is like sticking with Fields and then not taking Marvin Harrison at the top. I think that would be, in my mind, a downright disaster. But I think that there's a lot that you can do with it. So I'm excited to see what Poles does if he's still there, because it's exciting times in my mind. I know we're bad, but it's exciting.
So we interviewed Colleen Kane, Bears beat reporter for the Chicago Tribune. She said Poles is safe, and as far as she's concerned. She said she doesn't think he's on the hot seat. She thinks it's exclusively the decisions are on Fields and Eberflus heading in the offseason.
Yeah.
That's great news, because I think that Poles, I mean, he's made a couple of interesting deals. The Claypool deal is notorious for being bad.
Right.
The Sweat deal was almost certainly an overpay, but I mean, he got a guy at a position that's important, and that's really important because he didn't do that much in the offseason. They got a lot of off-ball linebackers, and like that's just generally not a good team-building strategy. And then Poles is the one who got them in the position to have 2 top 5 picks. Like he got them there, and so I think that letting that play out is important in my mind. Or if they decide not to, I mean, I think it's probably the most attractive GM job in my recent memory. Like,
sure.
Who wouldn't want to come have 2 top 5 picks in a great city like Chicago?
Yeah. What a great job on the DJ Moore deal.
Yep.
And I think they're going to give him a chance to take a swing here and see what comes out of the draft. I'm pretty confident in that. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I mean, if you get Marvin Harrison 1 and you're still able to get Drake May or Caleb Williams, I mean, that's fantastic. You hire a new coach. I mean, there's a lot of great talent out there, whether it's Ben Johnson or someone interesting. Maybe they can drag Harbaugh away. I don't know. You just need someone that's interesting, exciting, unique, but has the experience that I don't think the Luke Getsy had, kind of coming in to lead that offense there.
Yeah.
That was actually going to be my next question.
Harbaugh?
Let's hear it.
Yeah.
Harbaugh.
I think that would be, he was a coach of my Niners. I didn't want to let him go.
Yeah.
I was devastated when they let him go. I mean, he's a natural born winner. And he would be awesome. He'd be back home.
I love that guy.
He's a Chicago Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, he would just. I don't think he would totally vibe with the city too. Just
of course.
Just everything. I think it would be. But then you still have to hire an offensive coordinator, someone interesting. But you can do that. I mean, it gives you the flexibility because again, you're going to coach with John Harbaugh. So
Greg Roman's sitting out there.
So's Connor Stallions. So speaking of the NFL draft, are you betting that entirely on information?
Yeah, pretty much.
There's no projections. It's an exclusive information-based gambling system for you.
Yeah, so this last year was probably my worst betting the draft, and I think I'm broke about even, but it's just because the information was really bad in the entire draft cycle, not just the NFL, but the NBA. I bet the NBA draft, the NHL draft, MLB draft, because it's all just information. And usually information in past years has been really good. You could rely on beat writers for little tidbits, and then you would get good information from backwood sources that, someone who knows someone or, that's triple confirmed by different people. And usually that's been pretty reliable. The Trayvon Walker news, I knew Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick 2 weeks out. So, I was just betting as much as I could basically on Trayvon Walker at plus 300, plus 200, plus 100. And so that was obviously great. And then this year, I think that I got burned on the whole CJ Stroud, Bryce Young thing, but it's coming to light that it seems like Frank Reich did want CJ Stroud and the people in the building did want CJ Stroud, but he kind of got overruled. And some people in the building didn't want him and wanted Bryce Young. So I would say almost always I'm betting on information because I'm not really a good evaluator, prospect evaluator specifically. So I try not to rely on I think this player's good, so he's going to go here. Yeah. I try and rely on information, which this year wasn't that good, but I think the late information that came in, the 2 days before the draft, the information was really, really good this year.
Interesting. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how that whole landscape changes as ESPN is more and more involved in betting and have really powerful analysts and reporters and et cetera. So, yeah.
I mean, Sham's gotten hot water for the Jabari a thing like maybe 2 years ago, or maybe it was this year. I don't know. It was the NBA draft with something, and he like tweeted something out. It was like totally wrong and like swung the betting odds like crazy. And it happened with Woj too for the Paolo thing.
Yeah, we've had that happen a few times. It feels like, and it almost never happened before.
Yeah, it seemed like it never once happened. Now all of a sudden it's like every draft. Makes it interesting.
I'm pretty sure some of these guys sell information too on these like drafts. So like Shams and Woj, like they'll sell information of guys who want to bet big, and some of their information isn't good. So be wary of what you buy.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool.
Have you ever bought information?
No. I haven't, but I'm too cheap for that. I can figure it out myself. I'll be talking. I mean, we have have groups of people who are like hitting up people's like family members, pretending to be real estate agents, whatever they will do to get like any tidbit of information from anyone that they've ever met. But then there's like obviously people who lie, but like I'm never gonna bet anything off of like just some random tip. Like it has to be double checked, triple checked. Like it's not like, and that's come from people that don't know each other. And then that's what you're starting to hear. You can piece that together, and usually that's like worth a bet.
Huh. Cool. Well, anything else, guys?
When did you guys start betting props? That's what I'm curious. I'm like, when did you guys start the show and everything? I'm curious to learn more.
Is there anything more fun than betting NFL props?
Yeah. He's asking, how degenerate are we? Hold on. Here we go, Connor. Let's give him a real. So we did DFS for years before legal gambling. And then as soon as legal gambling, we pretty much dropped DFS as like a bad habit here in Illinois. And we went through, I don't know, he's been pretty profitable from the start because he was a total weirdo doing all kinds of things before it even started.
That was fake gambling before we got legal gambling, just to make sure I understood the process. So, yeah.
That's smart.
I went through a rough patch for the first year. And then basically I discovered plus EV betting and promotional betting and I stick to lower limits. If you're a $50 or under better, you can take advantage a lot of the offers going out on the books and things like that. That turned me completely around. And, that combined with responsible tailing, like not an originator. Baseball, an originator. That's what you were. You're an originator in baseball, but that's about it. Yeah, how about you?
From the get-go, I'm crushing it. So I am absolutely crushing it. I won a lot last year. I'm winning a lot this year.
Right. So did I last year and this year.
Love
this is going back. This was like back in 2020. The pandemic was not kind to me that first year, Connor.
Yeah, ping pong.
Yeah, that's tough.
I bet 95% of my plays are props.
Yeah.
So awesome. I think that's the market that's the easiest to take advantage of.
Yeah,
because
I think Noonan's done a really good job with the defensive props now too. He's like furthering into another niche. Like he starts doing his own defensive projections for tackles and assists, and I mean he's just crushing it. He's hitting like 60+% the last 2 years on like hundreds of plays at this point. Which, I mean, I shoot for like 60%. Like that's like my yearly goal on like props. Like plus usually like 25, 30 units on official plays. Obviously, it's generally a lot more personally, but. I mean, he's just absolutely crushing it. So I think the further that you can like zoom in, it just makes it all better. Like, I mean, I don't know if you know Osimo is like Alex Baker.
Mm-hmm.
This dude is just putting in like insane amounts of money on like WNBA props, and like his data guy Sean Zahn is like telling us things about like baseball props like I've never even heard of like different metrics and things that he's using that are just like so far beyond that. But like no one knows that, and the books don't know that. Whereas like NFL props, I think they're getting sharper, but they're still exploitable. Like relative to sides and totals, I mean, they're like way, way better.
Juice mentioned that he started watching the show last year. And last year is about the time where, we all go over to his garage and watch the games. I got the ticket. I put all the games up, whatever. He starts going through all his bets, and he's like, did so-and-so get over 8.5 tackles?
Like just gooning everybody.
And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about?
Tackles?
Yeah, you're betting on tackles and assists? And then that turned me on to
I'll send you the link.
4. Yeah. And so now I'm betting tackles and assists. So that's kind of how that worked.
Yeah, I still don't really understand fully what Noonan's talking about half the time with the bets, but I just tail him just because like there's very few things that I'll blind tail. I think that's one of them.
I agree.
I just trust the process, and as long as it makes sense, the write up, it's awesome. But I think he has not lost he doesn't bet very many tackle unders, which I've been nudging him to do, but I don't think he's lost a single one this year. So anytime we post an under, I go like 2 to 3x because I know that it's like extra good.
That's hilarious.
Well, we actually subscribed to you last year for the NFL draft. You guys had some sort of promo.
Yeah.
And we subscribed to you guys for that. And that's where I've enjoyed the most. I don't know what it is. I have a weird fascination with the drafts.
Betting on the draft.
I love betting on the drafts, and I love watching them. Like when they're, it's like watching a playoff game or almost to me. Like it's bigger than a regular season game.
Yeah, that was good. We signed up for the 4-for-4 draft because we were looking for someone that was really good in that market that could help us be good as well. And there's not a lot of info out there on social media about the draft. So,
it's just like knowing people basically. Honestly, it's like I didn't start until a couple of years ago either, and then like some people started giving me some tips, and then I got to know them, and then they introduced me to other people, and like you learn from there. And I mean, admittedly, last year wasn't awesome, but like I would say, bar none, I don't even know, maybe 10x the amount of action I have on a normal Sunday on the draft, like each year. So yeah, it's like by far and away my most bet event, like not even close, just because there's no game that needs to be played. Like when you know, like that's just the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that never happens in any other, like anything else. So like even if I have I have a massive edge on a prop, like you can still lose. Like the guy breaks an ankle or whatever. Like a cornerback trips and you lose an under. Like that just doesn't happen in the draft. If it's going to be that guy and they've already decided, it's that guy.
Yeah. Huh.
I mean, that's the way to do it. You were saying by the time it hits social media, it's
cooked.
over.
Yeah.
There's nothing left by the time it hits social media.
Yeah.
You've got to be getting in on the information before it becomes public.
Yeah.
No.
So
sign up for the 4-for-4 Discord.
Yeah, appreciate it. We'll have some good promos this year to get people in early. I think some even better ones too. But I mean, even the Will Levis stuff last year on Reddit, like remember, like
Yes.
like post on Reddit, they're
Oh
like,
my
oh, he's
gosh.
going number one, and like his odds went from like 100 to 1 to like 4 to 1 in like 30 minutes,
Right.
and it was totally fake, but that was really funny. It just shows the power. The markets are all Steam based, like all just like people are betting them. It's either like it doesn't necessarily mean sharp action; it just means that people are pumping in money.
The thing that I found interesting about that Will Levis situation was every single intelligent person that was talking about the draft said, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. No, that it was almost, I've never seen such a consensus from different experts within a certain area. No one believed that, it felt like, but yet it's still, that line shifted dramatically as a result. So there were clearly a lot who did.
Yeah, it's almost like people were resulting like before the result. Like, oh, it went from 100 to 1 to 4 to 1. I guess those guys are geniuses.
What was the tweet? I can't remember what the
No,
tweet
somebody
said.
like wrote something on Reddit. Like it was like an article of an account that like just popped up the day before.
But weren't they saying like they talked to Will Levis's
Something
mom or
like
something
that.
like
Yeah.
that, or girlfriend, and
he's going number one.
Going number one,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
bonkers.
he's like it said that someone had told him that he was going, that like the Panthers had told him they were picking him number one, which was not even true. I mean, like the way that their visits were like cadenced, like you basically knew that he wasn't going to be the pick either. Like it was just like the way their visits were set up. Like he was like later in the week, and like I think he was on a double visit. Like it was like him and CJ Stroud. So you kind of knew like.
Right.
Like they weren't having a double visit with their number one overall pick. And so, there was a couple of different factors there. But yeah, I think it was like Bleacher Report betting tweeted it out too. Like once those guys get a hold of it, I mean, like everyone is with $20 in their accounts and be like, oh, I'm gonna bet this,
Yeah.
It seems like a lock.
Especially at what was like plus 2,000 or 3,000 when it started.
It was crazy high.
Wasn't it crazy? And then it get all the way down to like plus 200.
Keeping on topic with our current episode, real quick while we have Connor on, would you ever cash out a plus 650 wager, $10,000 on the final play of a 4th and goal from the 31-yard line in the Alabama Auburn game? Did you see that?
Did you see this?
See that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the throw at the back of the end zone.
Is it-
and he just totally biffed it. Yeah.
Someone is claiming they cashed out on the last play for 61 grand on a payout that would have been 75,000.
Yeah.
We think it's fake. If I'm being honest.
Yeah,
with you.
I mean,
no
who
one
does that. Like, I mean, how much on tilt do you got to be? Just like set your phone down, like leave it alone. It's already that committed, just like go with it.
Totally pot committed.
Yeah.
And this guy's got friends going, what a great play.
Yeah.
What a great cash
Resulting,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, I think actually you should never basically cash out
Right.
because there's almost always better like well, I mean a live cash. I guess I've never looked into that, but like generally if you have a cash out option before like a leg is being played, there's almost always a better way to hedge it. Like for mine, like I mean,
Yeah.
trials and tribulations here and there.
They're offering it because they want you to take it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
It's for their
probably that
advantage,
simple.
not
Yeah.
yours. Yeah.
They're not saying
100%.
here, take further advantage of me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, Connor. Thank you for taking the time with us. We really appreciate having you on. Hey, hope we get to chat with you again in the future. Hope you had fun with us, and we'll count you as a friend of the show.
Yeah. Go Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome guys. Appreciate you having me on. A lot of fun. But yeah, let me know.
Sorry. What do you want me to do? Choke on my own
What the world was that? Jesus.
my belch?
Drink more water.
Oh, is that in the scientific literature that it stops your belching?
I'm going to put this at the very end. I'm going to cut it, and then after the end credits roll, we're going to play this.
Are you gonna leave the belch?
Is there anything else you want to put in this Easter egg before I start the show?
Are you gonna leave the belch in?
That's
And
what
then-
I'm putting at the back of the show.
Off to Kino to unwind.